Okay, over to you, Dea.
Yeah, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our miraculous session today. Very excited to be hosting. Let's see. I am just pulling it up right now so I can. Here we are. So today it's the Age of Brilliance. This is part 21, and it's the portal of embodiment, your embodiment of your brilliance. Last time we journeyed in the cadence of quantum creation, the leap from rhythm into miracle. Now we're entering into the next portal, which is embodiment. In this sacred session, we're going to discover what embodiment truly is. We're going to learn why fleeting moments fade without it. And we're going to anchor the 12 embodiment anchors to live brilliance every day. We're going to activate practices to integrate brilliance into your body, breath, choices, and presence. Wow, that sounds like a very powerful transmission menu.
Thank you.
So now it's not about becoming the light, it's for stepping into the embodiment where you are the brilliance. That's tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Dea. And if there are any questions that arise, anyone put it in the chat. Dea, if anything shows up for you, I'll check in on you as I go along.
Wonderful.
Okay. Okay, yes, welcome to this sacred transmission and in this age of brilliance. We are living in a time unlike any other time. The age of brilliance, like you heard me say many times before, is not just an era. It is a call, a cosmic reset, a remembrance, and it is the time where each of us awakens to our innate brilliance, not as an idea, not as a distant dream, but as the very fabric of our day-to-day living, of our life. So now we are stepping into the portal of embodiment. We move beyond knowing about brilliance, beyond the fleeting sparks of inspiration, and get into a deeper truth. And the truth basically is that you are the brilliance. Embodiment is when brilliance no longer is a concept that you admire, but a reality that you live. It is when words you speak, the choices you make, the way you breathe, walk, love, lead, all radiate brilliance without any effort. It's not about chasing light, it's about remembering that the light has always been you. So, together, let's anchor this remembrance. And to enable that, to facilitate that, I'm going to walk you through the 12 anchors of embodiment. Each anchor is a stabilizer. Each is also a flame that ensures that your brilliance is not temporary but everlasting. To really be able to get into it, we ought to first of all understand what is embodiment. Embodiment is when truth, wisdom, and brilliance move from a concept that you understand to becoming the life that you live. It is the shift from talking about brilliance to being brilliance in your tone, in your practice, and your choices. It is a deep anchoring of energy into matter. So your body, your heart, mind, and spirit become aligned transmitters of brilliance. And that's really what we are opening up as a portal today. Why does it matter? Without embodiment, even the most profound insights remain fleeting. just simply an aha moment, which after a while fades off. With embodiment, you become the living demonstration of what is possible. Your brilliance is not part time, it becomes a full body reality that influences relationships, your leadership, your creativity, and your presence. Past versus present, it's a fleeting aha versus anchored living. That's really what we are talking about when it comes to embodiment. If you look at what had been going on in the past pattern that we've all experienced, transformation was often intellectual or momentary, an insight, a high from a workshop, a peak from a meditation, and life would soon return to, in quotes, normal, old habits reclaiming control, because we were living in the age of command and control. Now we are in the age of brilliance, so embodied reality enables or in, facilitates transformation in such a way that every transformation is no longer temporary. Brilliance gets woven into your speech, your breath, your reactions, your posture, your choices. Life itself becomes a sacred container of practice. And that's the contrast that you will experience from now on. And all of you who are here, you've been here at a time where this particular portal is being invoked and activated. So, okay, let's start the deep dive. The 12 anchors of embodiment. Each anchor is a stabilizer holding you steady in that huge ocean of brilliance. Embodiment and brilliance together ensure that embodiment is not lost, but it grows stronger every day. For each anchor, I'm guided to go through why is it important? Who does it impact? Some integration practices that you might be able to work with. What it looks, feels, sounds like when you have embodied that particular anchor. And a simple test to know that that embodiment has taken hold within you. I'll also, bring out or highlight any particular dangers that can unhook the anchor and how you can protect against it. So the first anchor is presence. Why presence? Brilliance only exists in the now. Brilliance only exists in the now and is very, very personal. It is personal to you. And presence roots you in living the moment. It roots you in the living moment. It gets you to reclaim and own your dignity, honoring you in your worthiness. It impacts you first and then very calmly radiates to others. And that radiation of you in your presence, owning and, giving permission to express your brilliance radiates calm and clarity to others. If you are not in your presence, then you're actually stirring up a pot of chaos and confusion around you. So presence is the first anchor of embodiment. What can you do to integrate it? Being aware of your breath, being aware through your breath, allowing yourself to single task. Even if you're working on 10 things at the same time, or 5 things, or 2 things at the same time, you can do micro single tasking. Right now, I'm focusing on this. And that may be 5 minutes, that may be 15 minutes. But the moment you actually, with awareness, single task, you immediately impact the way you listen. You listen to yourself, you listen with your senses, and you land up listening deeply. And from that, you're able to pick up the nuances that are yours to act and implement. And how do you experience this? You experience this because it feels like grounded in stillness. It looks like attentiveness, and it sounds like clarity. So your words, your expressions are clear. The way you look, you're standing tall, you're focused, you're attentive without being intense. And within you, you're feeling that certainty too. And that's where that grounded stillness comes from. A way in which you can test that you are embodying brilliance with your presence is just ask yourself, am I here now, or am I actually somewhere in the past or future? And the difference is here and now is presence. Past and future, there'll be some story, so that will be active within you. It's a very simple test. In doing these portal sessions on the Age of Brilliance, my intention with all of the practices is it isn't yet another thing to add. It's just something that is, it's completely easy to follow through. And you don't have to ask yourself all the time. You will know when you're in your past and future stories because there'll be some form of restlessness. The danger to presence really is distraction. And distraction could be anything. Distraction could be, looking at your phone. So you know, I often turn my phone upside down, so I just don't see the notifications coming. I have it on do not disturb when I'm doing this micro focus. I'm very present to this presence part. I think we've had a whole portal on presence. If I haven't already done it, I'll be doing it soon, which has enabled me, to bring out 5 quite substantive books in the last year, 1 year. And the book that I wrote before that was in 2016. So nearly 7 years prior was my first book. And I'm very positive that this particular anchor has made all the difference. So, how do you guard yourself against the distraction, which is the danger that can take you away from presence, is create some form of daily pause rituals for yourself. Any particular, cues that will bring you back into your center. A daily pause ritual that I actually created when I wrote the B book in 2016 was to have my timer go off very, very briefly in a very sweet tone every hour, reminding me to return to the way I have chosen to be. So I have my B word for the day, and every hour I just get a little bit of a reminder, and I know that I can go back and be. But what it does is it's a pause ritual. Ritual by itself, is a very powerful word. It really, it's as a word, its innate vibration is bringing forth the expression of divinity in you. So having this daily pause as a ritual gets you re-anchored in your own divinity. I use a method that I call as time segmentation that some of you who've been a part of my business collective heard me talk about. So as a time segment, I create a segment. And in that, and I, when I talk about a time segment, I say have it be no more than 30 minutes in one stretch. Because if it is more than 30 minutes, you will not be able to be true to the segment. You will get distracted by getting a drink of water, having a cup of tea, or just checking in on your email or your messages. The idea with the time segment as a methodology is segment your time and be true to the segment. So when I have that single tasking focus, I'm able to do this because I follow time segmentation. My logical mind is very comfortable because it's a very logical thing to do. And the reality is, in the past, I remember when I wrote the B book, I had 3 weeks I was doing nothing but writing the B book. And now in those 3 weeks, like seriously, 8 hours of my awake time, was I only writing? I wasn't. Maybe I was writing consistently for 2.5, 3 hours, maybe. What I'm finding now is I have my time segments. Sometimes I'll have 3 time segments, but after every 30 minutes, there is a conscious choice of a 10-minute break. And that is the time I might go stretch or have a cup of tea or drink water or fruit or salad or whatever it might be. If I am in the middle of getting it, going against a deadline and I have to deliver something by a particular time, then I have my lunchtime as a break time. But I might have breakfast as a time segment. The difference between a break time is a break time could be as long as you want. You're just having a break. A time segment is a conscious choice. You decide what that segment is for and be true to the segment. So if I have breakfast as a time segment, then the only thing I engage in there is make my breakfast, eat my breakfast, share my breakfast like that. Now, there are times where I might have breakfast as a break, like on weekends, it's a break time. So there's some nuances to this, but it's a very powerful way of understanding and experiencing you in your divinity. This story that I had for the longest time that I am so busy, like literally is just dissolved in the age of brilliance. There are times where I sit on my snooze chair, you know, lounge chair, and it's a break time. So then I allow myself to snooze off. There are times where it's a time segment of just relaxing, at which point I might do the yoga nidra, they call it, the yogic way of resting, deep rest. Or it may be a time segment of, chilling, in which case I might go watch something on Netflix. It's a fabulous practice. It is through the time segments that I have allocated time segments for urgent things. So every day there is a 30-minute urgent time segment. Unless something catastrophic has taken place, even if it is something that requires urgent attention, you know, it goes into the urgent pile. I will look at it that day, and it will happen during my urgent time segment. Connecting with, my grandkids when I'm here in Dubai, that's a time segment. So I have nothing, the phones are off, everything is off. I am just simply present. That half an hour is deeply fulfilling. And I might take a break for 10 minutes or so and have another half an hour. So it's a very practical tool, the time segmentation tool. And if you have got my flow book, there's a whole chapter on it, on time segment. I think Unstoppable also has time segmentation. Because I do believe if this practice is instilled in young adults, they can accomplish so much more without the crazy stress that only occurs when you're disconnected from your presence. Because when you are present, you are connected and anchored in your soul being. And your human form is in its innate vibration, amplifying with the frequency of love. So let's look at the second anchor. The second anchor is alignment. Why does it matter? Why does alignment matter? Because misalignment fractures embodiment. Alignment unites your mind, body, and soul. You feel alignment. When I say do the yummy yucky test, that yumminess in your body, you feel it. You know you are aligned. There really is no reason for any of us ever to engage in anything that we are not aligned with. And you know what is a big cause of an alignment is when we have that dialogue going on in our head. I must do this. I have to do this. I need to do this. I should do this. I should not do this. You're like really beating choice out of you when you're in this have to, need to, must do, should not. And with every have to, need to, you are fracturing embodiment. Who does it impact? It impacts us directly. It impacts our health. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our own claiming of our sovereignty. It impacts our leadership. It impacts our integrity. Operating with lack of alignment or misalignment is the one that actually anchors emotional distress. And where does emotional distress sit in our body? It goes and sits in whichever organ is a little bit weak and becomes the root cause of all forms of dis-ease. When we have unsaid communications, misalignment is rife. So when I say one unsaid communication results in 100 unfulfilled expectations, it's because of this extrapolating or amplification effect of misalignment. How can you integrate alignment? Regular checking in to, are you acting from yumminess? Is this thought or action feeling yummy to me? If your body is in flow and you're experiencing yumminess, you know it is aligned with your truth. How do you experience alignment? You feel that yumminess flow. Unequivocal, frictionless flow of yumminess is the phrase I use. It feels light. You feel that lightness of being. You look graceful and you sound congruent. And here's a simple test. The yummy yucky test is a perfect test. If you require a phrase, then you can really look at, do my word and actions match my inner compass? You know they match your inner compass when your body is your best indicator. The danger here is you land up compromising for approval, for acceptance. And, sometimes you may feel that that is called for. It could be in a family dynamic, or it may be that everybody around you it's out of control, and you adding to it was not going to help. So you compromise, not for approval, but just so that we can move on from here. In which case, you can guard yourself from sliding into misalignment by having a recalibration practice. I've started sleeping in a state of complete alignment. So that's my recalibration practice at night. If there's anything that is incomplete, I acknowledge it fully, and I declare it complete by unconditionally accepting all that is. And I'm able to have that beautiful recalibration into alignment as I go to bed. I'm going to just check in with you, Dea. If there's anything that's showing up for you, anything that you want to comment on, add, or any question anyone has.
Well, the presence and the alignment feel like absolutely necessary to embody the brilliance. So there's 10 more? Or
Yes, there are 10 more.
really, really? Okay. Well, those
Yeah.
two just alone to me like feel like
And
um
the beauty about any anchor is any one anchor can enable that embodiment. It's just that you may be in a different circumstance, so
I,
you may want to use another anchor. I mean, we are being provided with so many tools and ways such that we don't have to sway from being anchored in brilliance. You know?
well,
Yeah, there are
right.
10 that we can use.
Some other like tools we can use.
Yes.
Ananta had a question. She asked if you could share more about your recalibration practice. I'm not sure you can do that now, but she was
I will.
wondering about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Sarah wanted to distinguish again between the difference between a segment and a break.
Yes. Okay. So I will talk about the recalibration practice in a moment, but let me talk about the difference between a segment and a break. So a time segment, um, I'm talking to Sarah, but it really applies to everyone. The fact that this question has arisen in our field, there'll be some value in it for everyone. So a segment is very intentional. In this segment, I am going to focus on this task. It's very task specific. So when I have a segment which is to do with, I'm in this segment, I'm going to convert, one of my poetry into a song. The only thing I work on is that activity and nothing else. Nothing else. Right? So you allocate it. That's why I say, you know, create a segment and be true to the segment, which is why it is not possible for us to only do one thing completely without using bull force for more than 30 minutes. And I know for a fact I can do in 30 minutes what might have otherwise taken me 3 hours when I'm being true to the segment. If I'm only focusing on converting a poetry into a song, you know, um, then I may actually decide that I'm going to have a 15-minute segment of choosing which poetry I'm going to be working on. And in those 15 minutes, I'm not deviating into anything other than just going through the 45 different poems that I have written already and choosing the one. And that's what I'm doing. I probably will be able to do it in 5 minutes now, but I used to allow 30-minute time segments to do it. Now it's 15 minutes. Then I have another 15 minutes left to see, are there particular, what I tend to do is I tend to start with a chorus when I'm converting a poetry into a song. So I actually write the chorus. And that's like my first time segment on a song. Now I'm in the vibe of my song. I could easily say, let me just finish the song, but actually I take a 10-minute break. Okay. And then I might return back and have another half an hour on the song. And by the end of an hour, the song is written. Right? In the past, Sarah, like Unstoppable, the song Unstoppable, took me about 3 days to write. But I had not done that. I had not converted poetry into a song before. But as a movie producer, I loved working with my music directors, particularly Bollywood music directors. It is just like such a huge paraffin. So all of those memories were there with me. And I remember one of my favorite music directors, he would always begin with a chorus. And there's another music director who would always begin with, it was a chorus, but in his mind, he would have a dance move attached to the chorus. So I used all of those tricks, and Unstoppable was created as a song. Then I realized actually, because I started with the chorus, then it allowed me to flash out all of the other elements that were important in the song as verses. Now, that level of clarity with which I'm speaking to you would not have happened if I hadn't used time segmentation. Now, a break is free flow. You can do whatever. You can jump, you can call, you can whatever you wish to do. So sometimes the break will be have at least a minimum of 10-minute break between 30-minute segments that gets you to recoup your energy, and you can be focused only on one thing for 30 minutes. Some of you, like Dea, you've done wealth dynamic. I'm a creator. For a creator to focus on one thing is a huge challenge, right? So, but 30 minutes, a creator focusing for 30 minutes on one thing, it makes the impossible happen. I see it. But this applies to everybody. So I don't, that's why sometimes I have breakfast as a time segment. I might even have lunch as a time segment and breakfast as just a break. So my Sunday brunches, but that we have family time on Sunday, and whether I'm there or not there, it's family time. But when I'm there, that brunch is a break. But I do create a boundary around it, and that boundary might be 4 hours brunch. Is that's answers your question, Sarah?
Yeah, it does. I got confused. Thank you. I got confused when you were talking about how sometimes you take breakfast or lunch as a time segment. So then I thought, well, what's a break? But it's clear now. You're
Yeah,
consciously, so it's when you're
yeah,
consciously saying, this is a time segment. I'm going to have my breakfast now, but I'm going to give 30 minutes
yeah.
and I'm
Now,
focusing.
yeah. So like if like for lunch, if I have lunch as a time segment, it may be 45 minutes because it does take
Uh,
me a long time to chew a lot, because I chew a lot. So the only thing I'm doing is actually either preparing lunch or having lunch. You know, I used to, and I sometimes do miss, watch something, right? I don't do that because I know how my body loves really absorbing what it is that I'm eating.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
because I've gotten into the habit of watching the news or doing something, but now I understand the distinction. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's extremely helpful.
Okay. And Ananta's question, um, can you please share more about your recalibration practice? So my recalibration practice, I have so many things that I do, Ananta. So therefore, the only time I can do the recalibration as a practice r- ritual every day is at night. I for sure do a recalibration practice. Now, there may be times where something has occurred and it's like, taken me off my center, in which case I would bring in a recalibration practice then and there. So, a very quick recalibration practice, if you're like impacted by something, is your 9-4-6 breath. Very, very quick recalibration practice. Three lots, 5 lots, or even 10 times 9-4-6 breath recalibrates you perfectly. So that's one for any time during the day that you might need it. My recalibration practice at night is I really feel into my body and see if I'm in the presence of unequivocal flow of yumminess. And if I'm not, then I really go into where am I feeling this? And is there something that triggered that? So once I get that, I actually acknowledge what I'm feeling. I acknowledge where I'm feeling it. I acknowledge how it's affecting me. I'm not processing anything. All I'm doing is simply acknowledging, you know? And as you acknowledge, you really start getting into a state of amazing stillness. And there'll be a point where there'll be nothing left to acknowledge. And that's the point I say, okay, I unconditionally accept all that is. I like to do a 9-4-6 breath, yeah, at least 2 to 3 times at the end of that. And that's it. I'm recalibrated. I'm in my center. Does that answer your question, Ananta? You may need to unmute in case.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think that's really nice about acknowledging what you're feeling, where you're feeling it, and what triggered it, and then moving into that state of unconditionally accepting all that is.
Yeah, you have to get to a point where you can declare, I unconditionally accept all that is. So until then, the recalibration is not complete.
Okay.
Okay. And it is not flippant, oh, I accept, oh, fine, fine. I accept it, I let it go. In my world, I don't let anything go. I let it be. And I unconditionally accept all that is. Okay.
You knew there's one other question.
Yes. Yeah.
Asha was asking if you're
Yeah.
reading a, is that also considered a time segment?
Um, well, it depends. You can use your break to read a book, in which case it's a break and it can be free flowing. Or if you use a time segment, let's say you're doing a study. So, for example, there's someone I do some very deep work with, and um, so yesterday he started on his study of flourishing, right? And he's using the flourishing code. Now he has read the flourishing code. He was one of my early readers. Now he's taking it as a study and as a practice that will enable him to experience stillness no matter what occurs in his life. So now he has taken on the book, reading the book, The Flourishing Code, with time segmentation attached to it, right? So when you attach a time segment, then you will only read for 30 minutes. And in those 30 minutes, you will only focus on reading that book. Now, when you allocate only 30 minutes, now you can have a 10-minute break and come back to the book. That's up to you as a time segment. But in the time segment, it's as if all of your faculties in a full spectrum way, you are focused on reading. The assimilation that you will have from what it is that you're reading is going to be a different level altogether. You know, when when I write a book, I'll just show you how, tell you how I work with reading, for example. When I write a book, all of you already know this. I always get at least 10, 12 early readers who represent my audience to read it and then give me their feedback. And people start giving me their feedback, and I usually give about 2 weeks and allow 3 weeks to consolidate all of the feedback that I'm getting. I don't read it. I don't read a feedback at a time. I get all of the feedback and I use time segmentation as a way of reading the feedback. In which case, for every feedback, what I get from it, it gives me a very clear understanding of what is it that I'm going to action where in my book. If I read the feedback as it comes along, I won't get that that juicy nuance that actually, to me, enriches the book and gets me to a point where I feel delighted with what I've created, and then it can go out to print. So I would say you choose whether reading is a recreational break activity, and sometimes it will be a time segment, depending on what your intention is with that reading. Thank you for asking these questions, because these nuances I take for granted, but they are so important to understand. So, Dea, shall I continue to the third one?
I think we can continue. We have time for another one. Yes, for sure. Let's do
Yay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, the third anchor is breath. Breath, our yummy, yummy breath. So, why is breath an anchor of embodiment? It is a reminder that you are in your body. You don't breathe, you're not in your body. So, breath is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the bridge between spirit and body. That's why breath is a very important anchor of embodiment. I mean, I see Stephen is here. So, Stephen, there are times where you get the downloads for the kind of structures that you are building and you're putting together. You operate from a state of embodiment and you bridge what's come through spirit and into your body simply by using your breath. That is what makes the invisible visible. That is what makes stuff that you totally get, but actually it starts to convert it into a reality that enables the engineers to actually build it and make it real. So by using breath as an anchor of embodiment with conscious awareness brings in brings in the ability to convert your visions into reality much faster than anything else. 946 breath is a magical breath that very quickly aligns your mind brain, heart brain, gut brain. And sometimes when you are, particularly when you're plugged into visions that are coming through and your mind actually is working faster, or it is actually becoming a huge stop because it's like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Or let's very quickly convert this into how we can make it happen. So that can create a little bit of a whirlpool of overwhelm inside, right? And so you're working as fast as you can, but you're carrying some restlessness. In that case, the breath that enables you to break that pattern of restlessness is a breath in, a short breath in, and short two breaths in, and a long breath out. So that immediately brings you back into your center. Okay?
That's
Two.
what I've been doing, Tom. Since you mentioned that, I've been exactly that. So thank you.
Great, great. It was spirit guidance for me to, talk
Yeah,
about you. So
thank you.
awesome. Great. Okay. Now who does this breath impact? It impacts us, it impacts our vitality, it impacts our nervous system, it impacts our emotional harmony. Okay. It's just emotional harmony is where the focus is. Breath doesn't necessarily, it doesn't contribute so much to the mental state of thoughts, because mental thoughts require thoughts to bring you back into your center. So if your thoughts are going berserk and overthinking is taking place, to bring you back into your center, it's really about getting into a state of overthinking instead of overthinking. Breath, on the other hand, brings about emotional harmony. Like I said, overwhelm, stress, two short breaths and a long breath out. Short breath in, long breath out. You won't need to do more than two or three, and you will be completely in your center. How do you integrate breath? By being conscious, applying consciousness to your breathing. When you apply consciousness to your breathing, a rhythm resets. That's why a breath becomes a very powerful anchor of embodiment. If you feel there's stuff going on and it's taking you away from your presence, like I know there were many things that you were working on. You were so busy before you went to Spain, and you were really doing stuff for our world, and that's what you were engaged in, because you were making it very grounded, some of the actions as a lawyer that required to be done, right? So it's very easy to really desperately seek that rhythm's reset. So even whilst you're engaged in something that can feel overwhelming, bringing consciousness to your breathing brings about that rhythm reset. Okay. When I'm doing my teaching with students, particularly, and there'll be like 100, 200, 300 students, and and it's an 8-hour session. A lot of the times the teachers or professors from the university or the college would say to me, how can you keep their attention for so long? In 10 minutes, we have to, throw little dusters around the room to wake people up and get them to come back into the class. And how can you have your vitality going for so long? I actually do this conscious breathing throughout. I'm engaged in that. So as a result, that vitality is, I'm resetting rhythm within myself. And because I'm fully present and that's the way I'm showing up, I'm sure it has an impact on the students as well. How does this experience, how do you experience this? Integration of breath as an anchor of embodiment. You feel expansive. It feels like an expansion. You look relaxed. You sound steady. The tone of your voice is a steady tone. You don't have the frown lines because your look is relaxed. And when you are experiencing expansion, you are anchored in the human vibe of love, which is natural to you. And with this anchor, it brings in presence automatically. A simple test you can use for yourself is my breath shallow or deep? It's good to do a breath check from time to time during the day. I find that, this practice, Sarah, you've been part of the Living the Bee lifestyle, and we've done our bee plan, 7-day bee plans a few times. Every hour that I check my bee word, I also do a breath check. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm feeling rushed, breath. It's a powerful anchor of embodiment, brings you back into your body. The danger can arise from stress. Stress constricts breath. So if you feel any shallowness in your breath, then just go into your body and check where you're experiencing that stress and breathe into it. Constriction goes away. A very simple guard practice that you can use that will, guard you against the stress constriction. Just get conscious about your breath. You could take 3 conscious breaths before any particular action, any major action. You're about to work on some paper that you're writing, Sarah, for example. You just take 3 conscious breaths, whatever that breath may be. The moment you get 3 conscious breaths, you are embodied. Add to it time segmentation, the nuance with which you're going to focus on completing the job and getting across the finish line is of a different level altogether. And then your mind starts to get into the cadence of getting the job done. For the longest time, even deep into my spiritual awakenings, my mind was in the cadence of getting something started. Even if it was the most impossible thing, my mind knew I could get it started, no problems. But that is not enough. I had to reset myself, my rhythm, and switch my mind to get into the cadence of getting the job done. And that happened with my books. My books were the way in which I was able to get the job done. And I see it having an impact on everything. Cadence is such a powerful portal in the age of brilliance. Just now that I'm in the cadence of getting the job done, I'm finding even things like my immersions that I do. I have to actually keep aside 2 or 3 places for people that I know this is going to be of benefit to, because those immersions are filling up by themselves. Well, there is a little bit of effort, but not that much. Whereas before I was good at getting it started, so I would get it started, it would start. But it was not so easy to get a whole year filled up. And that's come from becoming conscious with my breath. Simple thing. We do it anyway. Let's just apply some consciousness to it. It's a very powerful anchor. I mean, I just really love this portal. Dear, anything you want to say? We have 5 minutes left.
Well, well, I think breathing is like one of the keys to keeping the embodiment, grounded and in balance and in alignment. So I love it. I love being reminded of our breath, like really utilizing that to help us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's 6:26. Do you want to do another one, or do we want? Oh, here's a question coming in. The 9-4-6 breath integrates the mind, gut, and heart. That's a question. And
Yes. So Yeah, so there are three brains that we have in our body. Like we have two hearts, we have three brains. The mind brain, which is the brain as we talk about, the heart brain, and the gut brain. The mind brain is its intention is survival. So it keeps itself anchored on past, and it extrapolates your past into the future. So it oscillates between past and future to ensure that you're continually surviving. And that also is necessary for you to thrive, right? So mind brain plays an important role. But if we only let the mind brain run the show, you will not be able to experience the joy of your presence and many of these things that I'm talking about. You'll be in your mind, not in your entire body. Okay. So the heart brain is anchored in the now. It also has all of the connections to all of your organs and all of your systems, just like the mind brain does. And its only focus is now. The gut brain is the custodian of your inner wisdom, hence the gut instinct. The gut is also connected to every organ in your body. So when you do the 9-4-6 breath, breathing into the count of 9, holding to the count of 4, breathing out to the count of 6, you are literally getting the mind brain to know it's not alone because it panics, you know? And that's where the overthinking and all that happens. Overthinking, overwhelm happens because the mind brain, when it feels that it's the only one. The 9-4-6 breath literally brings that remembrance back. You do your work, the heart is doing its, the gut is also connected, and it's informing how I may choose what actions I take. So 9-4-6 breath, that's what it does. It um, it creates a collaborative co-creation between our three brains. And that also enables everything to coexist. So you can be in your presence because that's the heart brain is plugged into the presence. Your mind brain can relax as opposed to it going crazy saying, what are you doing? Wake up. All emotional reactions only occur in the mind brain. They don't occur anywhere else. It's super easy. Do 1-9-4-6 breath and you will switch from reaction to response, reestablishing a bond. A little bit of a longer response to your question, Ananta, but I felt it's an opportunity to explain this a little bit more deeply.
Yeah, thank you. Because you've talked so much about it and it comes up so much, but I never knew the chemistry behind how all these aspects are working together. So it's really interesting actually to finally get to hear that.
I like doing tests when I do these things on myself. So there was one particular point that I went through a little bit of a serious distress around my business with my previous business partner recently, and I realized that my sugar levels were being impacted every time there would be like a crescendo of distressful or stressful interaction, and I did the 9-4-6 breath, sugar level before, sugar level after, and it was completely normal. Simple 9-4-6 breath 3 times, and I'm like in my center. So it does actually, the chemistry part that you brought up is very real. It does have a direct impact on that.
Wow.
And that other breath, the quick 2 in and then 1 out is pretty
The
powerful.
long breath out. Yeah, that's just cuts. Do it even if you do it right now, you will just see, you just do, you feel like you're coming back into your body, right? Even just do,
Very much. Very, very much.
yeah. Okay, Dea, you can conclude the session.
Okay. Well, we had three powerful anchors today. The first one is presence, and the second one, alignment, and the third one, breath. And wow, so there's actually 9 more that will be revealed in the upcoming sessions. Correct, Minu? Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. That was so good. I mean, there's so much to unpack in each one of them, and I think all of us got an incredible amount of source here, great information to utilize. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great, for us, Friday has begun, so have a great rest of the weekend. And I will see you all on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank
Love
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night. Good morning.